Okay, responsiveness is really cool. Turn to someone and give them a compliment. Turn to someone and give them a compliment. How'd that go? How'd that go? You got a compliment, okay? Now responsiveness, oh, you seem to like doing that. We could do more on that. I'm actually almost finished, that's cool. We can do, so how was that to give a compliment? Does that feel nice? A little pat in the back? Now, I got a question for you. I want to take it to another level. Can you give a compliment and not really mean it? Nod, yes. Can you apologize and not really mean it? If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about? Say sorry to your brother. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, mean it. I'm sorry you're my brother. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry you're my brother. So really mean it. So the responsiveness talks about this whole notion of how we see people. Because on one surface level, and I used to do a lot of training on communication skills and around assertiveness training and how to talk to people and do the proper body language, you nod with them, eye contact. I'm sure you're taking these classes, and arm gestures and mimicking them or just sort of mirroring what they're doing. And all this stuff is really good behaviors to have. And you can do that with your counseling, with your session. But what if you don't actually like the person? You go through all the motions. You do all the right things, right? But you don't really like them. Do you think they can tell? Yeah. So there's something different. Upstairs, there's something we call behavior. It's what we see in the surface all the time. We see people's behaviors, right? But there's something underneath that. And it's called a way of being. It's the essence of who the people are. And they might say the right things, but this doesn't quite, I use the phrase, it doesn't quite compute. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't quite jigger. Or you get a spider sense. That's another phrase that's used. You get a spider sense that something doesn't line up. What they're saying and doing is not really working with who they are, what are really picking up on. So there's a little something different, and it's called the way of being. It's something that's a little deeper into the person's being, if you will, the way of being. And in the work that I studied and I'm teaching these days, it's from the organization called Arbinger, and there's some links on the website to look at some of that stuff. But it talks about two ways of being. That there's a responsive way of being, which is seeing people as people, just like you and I are as one, if you will, not the same person, but certainly unique in our own right and deserve to be unique. And that your hopes and dreams are similar to mine. I have hopes and dreams as well, so we share that common humanity, if you will. So the responsiveness piece is seeing people as people. And when you see people as people, you're at peace. Your heart's at peace. But there's another way of seeing people, and it's about being resistant to people. That your connection to a person or your way of being to another person is not seeing them as a person, but rather seeing them as an object. And so you're resistant to their experience in life. They're resistant to who they are. And there's actually three ways that you can be resistant if you want to take some notes on this. You can treat people as an object and be objectifying, but you can treat them in three ways. They can be an obstacle to you. Once you get into that resistance zone, when you get those little feelers out, they can be an obstacle to you, which means they get in your face, they get in your way, they're blocking you to getting something. They can be a vehicle, something that you can use to get your way, someone that you have to overcome or make use of, if you will, to get your objectives and goals made. Or they can be irrelevant to you. That can be a person non grata, a person that's not really very important at all. Now, when you think about that, when you treat a person as an obstacle, and no, you can treat them any way you want behaviorally, but when they sense, well, let me ask you this: if you treat a person as an obstacle, as a vehicle, or as irrelevant, do you think they can sense it? Do you think they know somewhere inside? Now, it might not be very obvious, it might be very subtle, but do you think they kind of know? Let me give you an example that kind of brought it home for me. I was having a dinner party with my wife, and this is before we had the baby, and we were having a dinner party, and we had to put together a punch, and we realized we had no soda. I was making up a big fruit punch soda thing. And so it was like 6:45, and the guests were coming for dinner at 7, and the wife said, get down to the store as fast as you can, grab some soda. So I hopped in the car and popped down to the store, went to the back of the line, and I grabbed a couple of jugs of soda, and I came out, and there was like one lineup, and there's like 7 people in it. And I'm standing there going, oh, geez, watch. And then one of the checkout gals comes over and puts the key in the cash register and flicks on a little light, aisle number 3 or whatever, right? And she looks around the cash register and said, I'll help the next person in line. I was out of there in a flash. Now, how did I see those folks in front of me? They're obstacles to me. They're in my way. They're blocking my progress, my goals, my desires, my dreams. How do you think I treated the cashier?
Hurry up.
Yeah, in this language would be a vehicle. I was using her. The faster she went, the better she was to me. I didn't ask her how she's doing or what was going on. I was at the gravitation, gone. So there's a lot of resistance, a lot of tension in that situation, obstacle and vehicle involved in that. Now a week later, my wife and I have a little movie night. We have these movies that we rent, and we both have milk allergy, so we get the soy-based ice cream, and there's one called with peanut butter and chocolate. Is it ever good? And we were out, so my wife said, go down to the store. I'm not doing the errands there. Right. Go down to the store, get some ice cream. She didn't quite say it like that, but whatever. And grab some ice cream. So I go down to the store, and the same grocery store, and I go back and grab the ice cream out of the bins. It's in the health food section. It's back of the store. So I got the little ice cream here, and I'm out. And this time the checkout line's got like 3 people in line, 2 people in line, 4 people in line, 3 people in line, 2 people in line. So I'll go to 2 people in line. And as luck would happen, the 2 people in line person was actually the first one who was just paying out, so they're gone. But there's a lady with a huge cart, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh dear, if you have to wait for me, your ice cream's going to be on the floor. Why don't you go ahead of me?" How'd you see me?
No.
Someone in need. Did she see me as an object or a person?
A person.
She saw me as a person. She saw my hopes and dreams and my desires and my challenges, and probably related to me. So she saw me as a person. So this is very subtle stuff every day, folks, but you have to ask the question, where does peace begin and where does war begin? Where does it begin? Yeah, with our thoughts and ideas around people, whether we see them as people or not. When you look at global wars, they're objects. Historically, they were objects. We even gave them nicknames, like slang names, right? For the people that were on the other side. We dehumanized them and made them objects as much as possible. So I tell you that because one of the things that you'll find, and I'm sure you find this already, is that when people come to your organization, or when you're in the organization and you feel and you sense that the people that you're working with, their way of being is resistance to you, it's not very inviting to engage, is it? In fact, you want to just get the heck out of there, or just put up your time, or be 70% engaged and a little disenchanted, or be disengaged entirely, or just be enrolled, just do your job, put up with that person that treats you like an object or vehicle or irrelevant, and just go home and do your thing. So there's a sacrifice that's being made there in a workplace that is not responsive, in a culture where people are together. And you know what the funny thing is with all that? I don't know if you found this, but when you have a culture that's engaged in disengaging, when you have a culture that's engaged in resistance, which you can actually have a culture that's engaged, but it's engaged in resistance, collusions start. Collusions start when people get on each other's side. And this little clique over here is against that little clique over there, and there's a little lunchroom monitored talk and all this kind of stuff. And you get this terribly implosive stuff happening in your work culture. Terribly implosive stuff. And so engagement is just disintegrated because everybody's out for themselves. It's actually what I call the culture of entitlement, not the culture of human potential. The culture of entitlement is just the disengaged, resistant, backstabbing, collusion kind of thing where you get people on your side to make your point. All of it, by the way, is just a way of being, which can be changed into another way of being.